So I'm going to ask if Ashley and Anna Marie and Angela can bring questions over from Facebook as they happen, because I don't always see them all. So that'd be very nice of you. Today we're going to be looking at the Pyrrols and the Perylenes. Pyrrols and Perylenes are both organic synthetics. So they're made in the laboratory. They're extremely bright. The Pyrrols are the brighter ones, but right underneath them are the Perylenes. There's 5 Pyrrols. So what we'll be seeing today from the various brand ambassadors and artists are the Pyrrol Crimson, the Pyrrol Orange, the Pyrrol Red, which is like a fire engine red. It's a very, very bright red. And then the transparent Pyrrol Orange, probably one of the most popular colors there is the transparent Pyrrol Orange. Within the Perylenes, there's a Perylene Green, a Perylene Maroon. I have to think about Maroon 5 before I say that because I cannot pronounce that word if I just try to do it by itself. I have the hardest time in the world. And that Giovanni told me that. Just think of Maroon 5. Perylene Red, Perylene Scarlet, and Perylene Violet. So those are the colors we'll be looking at today. They're beautiful, beautiful colors. And I'm very thankful that the brand ambassadors were able to show them through their beautiful artwork. Which, if any of you would like to start first?
John, can I ask a question really quick?
Yes, of course.
I am confused by the wording organic, synthetic. Did I hear you correctly?
Yes, it's an organic synthetic.
So
So
how can something organic be synthetic?
it's whether it has a carbon or doesn't have a carbon, or whether it has a metal or doesn't have a metal, is the definition between organic and inorganic. Not really organic like you find it an organic vegetable. It doesn't really,
Yeah.
that's not the chemical basis. It's whether or not it contains a carbon or whether or not it contains a metal. And then natural is just whether it's found in the natural world or it can be made in the laboratory. So lots of things that exist in the natural world can also be made in the laboratory. The laboratory just think perfection. When they're made in the laboratory, they're absolutely perfect. When they're from nature, there's other things that can be associated with them that gives us, for example, the beautiful granulations, etc., because there's more than one element involved in the process.
So, John, is there a preference between these colors as to what to use as far as results?
So the synthetic organic doesn't make it better to use or worse to use. It's really for you as an artist, whether it's meeting your expectations of what you want to create.
Great. That's always good to know.
Yeah. They're mixable. Every color is mixable with any other color. Somebody's going to say something. I cut you off. Sorry.
No, go ahead. Was Anna.
Go ahead.
Oh, you were saying what about whether it has a carbon or metal chemical basis. So being organic, that means that it would be a carbon basis. Am I understanding? Thank you. And please continue your thought. Thank you.
There's one violation of that. There is one organic that has a metal. There's always a violator. So it's just really up to you. I just want to kind of give you some of the differences as we go over it, because there are different natural pigments, there are different synthetic pigments. One doesn't make it any better than the other. It's just really a tool in your toolbox and what it is that you want to use.
And which one was the exception? The organic that was metal based?
I will send you the exception. I'll do it during this process. I'll send it.
So fun. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think what's good is making little sample swatches if you're going to use these colors. That way you know in advance what they'll do.
I think that's excellent. I see that Ashley does that. I know some of you do that. You make little swatches. That's super wonderful. Because it's the reason that we have the dots that we send out, like your dots and the brand ambassadors, and because I can say all day what a color looks like, but really as an artist, you want to see it. And not only do you want to see it, but you want to feel it. Because believe it or not, different pigments feel different ways. Some are heavier than others, etc. So nothing beats having your swatches. I love that you do that.
That's why we have today.
Yeah.
Yep. Some
I've
of
seen
us
many
have
artists-
swatches today.
Yeah, I've seen many artists when they do their artwork, they'll put the colors they use on the back of their artwork. So it acts as a reference point. These are the actual colors I used on my paintings. And here are the mixes. They have all that on back of their artwork, which is
I do that in
really
a
cool.
sketchbook. I plan out all my paintings in a sketchbook so that I know all the mixes and all the colors that I used and I can refer to it later.
That's awesome. Because we have talked over the different months about cauliflower or different strengths of different pigments. And if there's so many, the only way you know that is to play with the colors you're going to use and see which ones are going to push and which ones are going to pull, which ones are going to invade, which ones are going to retract. It's really the only way to do it. So
And it's also good to do that and keep a file of these colors where you can just reference them.
Yeah. Excellent. So who would like to start?
I'd be happy to go first. I have just a little short amount to share.
Thank you, Anne-Marie.
Working on, yeah, thanks for providing such great colors. We talked about preparing and going through the exploration of which colors we want. So I have been working on a painting on a harder topic, and I knew I wanted to, so my color scheme here was really pastel, easy colors with the hard value, the darker value, and the bright color only being the bright red. And I suspected I wanted the Peryline, but I wasn't sure. So I went through and explored all of the reds to see the texture. You were talking about the texture, right? You wanted to see how it behaved in the brush, but specifically, I'm looking right here. And let's see if I can get a nice close up. I wanted to see how did it granulate and reticulate with the water. So here you can see very clearly the water forming little rivers within the image, and the water itself pushes the paint along. And that's exactly what I was looking for. So not only the color, but how it behaves. And with exploring all the reds that I thought were a possibility, including my transparent pyrrole orange, all through the pinks, through the fire engine reds, I came to the conclusion I wanted either Pyroline red or Pyroline scarlet here. And I'm exploring them and also seeing how do they pool, how do they puddle, how do they behave as they evaporate. I don't know if the camera is able to pick that up, but the lineation that's happening through the evaporation process. And this is one of the beautiful and amazing things that we get as watercolorists that we don't experience in the other mediums. And I think it's worth celebrating and being excited with watercolor. So through my process, I explored which reds and concluded for my big painting, I wanted either Peryline red or Peryline scarlet because of how they behave through the evaporation process. Here I'm exploring my color range that I'm working within. And then here I'm comparing Peryline red and Peryline scarlet. How do they mix together to form the softer, gentle colors? And how do they push and contrast and make a hard, dramatic contrast? And through that exploration, then I find the color that I want and make sure, does it move and does the water push the pigment away the way I'm wanting it to? So that's the process. And then I worked through some abstractions of the images. There's another one of just abstractions of the image that I'm exploring for painting. And that was my process. And I'm continuing to work on the really big painting. So I have a small one that's finished for a study and moving on to the big one now. So that was my exploration with pyrrolenes and finding the behavior, not just the color, but the behavior of the pigment. Thanks.
Anne-Marie, which did you decide on?
I write this down on purpose for that reason. Pyrroline scarlet.
And why?
Because of how it reticulates with the water. As it evaporates, it's creating multiple edges, not just a single hard edge on the edge of the pool, but as it evaporates, it's forming multiple edges and it's creating texture within any pool. All right.
Thank you.
Answer the question?
Yes. Very well.
That's awesome because Perylean scarlet is the only granulating Peryline.
Nice.
Yeah, good choice.
Thanks for letting me share.
Very welcome. Okay, how about if Sylvia, can you go next,
Yes.
please?
Okay. I'm trying combinations of the Pyrrols and Perylenes. My favorite, transparent Pyrrol orange, because it's transparent and the color is very, it's not that much or that much strong, and it's smooth and it goes wherever I paint with transparent Pyrrol orange is always beautiful. And also because it's transparency. Here, I use it with Pyrrol red. Every time that I have to explore colors, I like to do something like this to explore the opacity, how is the expansion of the pigment, the granulation, and well, how do they match with each other? So I always like this. And I'm doing exactly here the same thing. Mm, Here, well, here the Pyrrol crimson. It's amazing, this color. I confess I have never tried before, and I'm feeling very, very excited to paint with it because it has strong color and it also a good expansion. I painted on dry paper and it is like this. I was like painting the wow, bushes, leaves, and things like that, just to feel how this pigment works in the painting. Here, Perylene violet and with Perylene green. And the mix between both, I use it here, which uh, gave me a very beautiful neutral color. It's really beautiful. And I don't know why, but the sensation that I have here is that I can see the green and I can also can see the violet, the Pyrrolene violet here in the mixing. Well, I think oh, Pyrrol red too, so intense. I I hope I can finish everything until the end. And here I use the Pyrrol red with Perylene maroon. I don't know how to spell to say this, but to see the combination and how the colors matches. For me, this matters too much. And I think all of them together, it's amazing.
The
And that's
color
it.
harmony, the color
Yeah,
harmony we have on the top center one is striking.
isn't it?
Wow.
Yeah, it is. It's
Really
very,
cool.
and it's very beautiful. I was like, um, here, I like to do like Pyrrole violet. So isn't it amazing how this expansion happens here? And
Yeah.
isn't it? And the Pyrrole green? No, Peryland green. If wow, I use it everything. But it's the harmony is amazing.
Orange.
It's amazing. The harmony of the colors here. Yeah, and that's it. How you'll finish while you go ahead.
This is not mine. So this is from our newer brand ambassador, Marty. Marty is at Marty Watercolor right here on Instagram. And this is something that she wanted to share, but she couldn't make it today. So here's a study she did on Peryline Scarlet. I believe, was that the one that Anna Marie chose? I think
Yeah.
that was it. Isn't this fun? So here down, she's got all the different reds swatched. There's a couple magentas in here too. So she keeps a sketchbook of all the colors and she does these little studies. So this is really fun. Here she painted some tomatoes. And then she makes these little swatch cards. And so I kind of followed her method today, and I'll show you in just a second. but she's got the tonal value range here. Then she's got liftability. And then she's also got mixing studies, which is just such a comprehensive color study. It blows my mind. And then there's just a closer up of that delicious tomato painting, good enough to eat. And so following Marty's lead, you guys saw my swatch cards last week. I had these are swatch cards I made years ago. And so I decided to take this opportunity to kind of follow what she did and make these cards that give a little more information. I've got the pigment number, the transparency, the light fast rating, the staining level, and series and granulation. So this is such a great way to get to know colors. I actually learned a lot today just by doing this. Because like John said, you can talk about color, you can see your dot, even on the dot cards, like you can kind of get an idea of the color, but until you get a chance to, add a little bit of water and watch what happens and watch it play. There's so much more to these paints than just the color tone. Is it warm? Is it cool? There's just like the Peryline Scarlet that Anna Marie talked about, the edges. I mean, I don't know if any of you guys have ever thought about that, the way that a paint might form a hard edge, or the way that and these aren't granulating colors. I'm pretty sure this is the only granulating color. Let's see. Yeah,
That's right. You're right.
this is the only granulating color. However, you can create texture by adding water. And so anytime I swatch, I'm crazy. I like to just splash water onto them. I want to see them behave in different ways. So I don't like a smooth swatch. I like to, get a little crazy. So this was a really great way to compare these two. Because in my mind, I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I hear like violet, Peryline maroon, and they're just kind of, I don't know, I thought they were the same. And as I swatched them out, I realized, oh no, they are not the same. I wanted to go over to the website really fast and read you the color story for Peryline Violet. John, I don't know who writes these color stories, but they're fabulous. And if that person retires, I would like their job, please. So this one says a deep, luscious, grape juicy reddish violet. Doesn't that look like grape juice? And if we're comparing this to a liquid, I would say we've got wine over here, grape juice, wine. So it was just a lot of fun. If you guys haven't gone over to the website and read the color stories for each color, they are so informative. They're almost poetic, but they are also very informative. Like, for example, this one says that it looks good with complementary greens, as we see here. And it also makes strong, interesting shadows. To be a great shadow color. And then I wanted to point out the only transparent colors we have here are the Peryline Violet and the transparent Pyrrole. The rest are semi-transparent. So if you were looking for a transparent version of either the violet, maroon, we'll call these the twins, then this transparent Pyrrole, oh gosh, it's such a lovely color. And when you drop it into water, it just it wants to explore. It just wants to go crazy. So that's a really great color. And out of all of these, I would say this one is the most exciting, in my opinion. It looks different on camera. So if you ever have a chance to either swatch this from the dot card or buy a tube of it, this is a very, very exciting color. Does anybody have any questions about these?
I think it's interesting you're talking about creating your swatches and painting them out yourself, because what I've also found in talking with other artists is we all perceive color differently, and how I understand this color being closer to an orange or closer to grape juice or closer to wine. How I perceive it is different than my neighbor. And also how I'm going to use it is going to be completely different, right? How we saw Angela demonstrate last week is so encouraging and fierce. And then you see somebody laying somebody who does it very differently with transparent layer after transparent layer. And I'm loving seeing your swatches to explore it for ourselves. Thanks
Very
for
exciting. Yes, yes. And you know what? I'm really excited to see how Buffy and Angela and everybody else. So I'm going to hand it over to Buffy. Thank you.
You, Ashley.
Hi, everybody. So I wanted to share something I love about the Perylenes is that they're highly staining. So if you have a love for quinocodones or the phthalos, you might really enjoy the Perylenes as well. What I mean by staining is that if you do paint in glazes, each glaze that you put on, it's not going to disturb that bottom layer. So you can build these colors up. And also another thing about staining colors is that in their most watered down form, they turn into a pastel, but they'll still have some stain power. So you can see the Perylene maroon in its pastel, and then in its higher concentration, the violet, and then the green. And the green's my favorite because I do a lot of landscapes and foliage. And so by having this pale gray green and then this super almost black green, you can really get the different contrast and values in your foliage, trees, and shrubs. So John mentioned something I thought was interesting was how color can feel to us. And I think it's interesting that everyone who's shown their swatches so far have added water and how the color behaves. And I did that as well. And you can see how the water pushed the color and created little roots, each one. And so what I'll do is I'll get a group of colors together and then I'll go through my photos and the colors will be my inspiration. And then I'll try and find a subject that will do something with those. So I found this photo. And so in the background, I'll be painting this. But the challenge was, well, how will I get the color of dirt with these guys? And that was where the Pyrrols came in. So when I added a little bit of the Pyrrol orange to the violet and green, I got a color of dirt, a nice sandy gray color. So these colors, I wouldn't have expected that. So I'm really excited to just kind of play with this. And then one other thing that we don't talk about enough is I got my first bottle of Daniel Smith Artist Masking Fluid. And so I've masked some of the stems of this wildflower bush on my paper and it's dried. So while everyone else is sharing, I'll start painting. And if it turns out, I'll share it later. If it doesn't, no, just kidding. But thank you for letting me share so far.
Wow, that's vibrant.
Angela,
Thank you,
are
Buffy.
you ready?
Thank you.
Angela, we have you next.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I
Yes,
love that flower.
thank you. Yeah, that is just using some of the Perylenes and the Pyrrols. I use the Pyrrol red, which is one of my favorites. It's in my dot card. Here is the Pyrrol red and the Perylene scarlet also. And here in the middle, can you see these? It's the Pyrrol orange. All these family of colors I love very much. And then I use some greens. It's not a Perylene, but how well they combine. It's the phthalo yellow green and the manganese blue. So look at this. And I was using now one of the sticks to make lines because there's so much color, so powerful. And anyway, I will continue to do that because it's like I like this explosion of color. I'm sorry, but I cannot talk technically about my friends are so good at that, but I cannot talk very much about that. I learn a lot from everybody, and if you see the effects that the water has here, I think that's
Angela.
the Perylene scarlet. Yes, hello.
May I ask which phthalo you used again, please?
The phthalo yellow green.
Yellow
This
green,
one.
thank you. I get
This
them
one.
mixed up. Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
But I would like to share with you, while I will finish this by the end of the session. But I did today just a study of the Perylenes and the red and the Pyrrols. So this is a composition with Perylenes and Pyrrols. on this, I wanted to try the 3 types of paper. This one is on cold pressed paper. So here you can see the Peryline violet and the Peryline maroon. They are quite watered down, but you can see the contrast. Here there's the maroon and violet. And here it's the Pyrrol red, Pyrrol orange. So composition in reds. I like this composition. And then I also did 2 other things with some, excuse me, I need to clean this. So I wanted to see how it reacted, I did a study of the Perylenes. Here you've got the Perylenes on hot press paper. I did the same thing simultaneously on both rough and Peryline, and hot press. You see the effects are different. And I think it was, I don't know if it was Ashley or Anna Marie mentioning that if you, or I don't know, but if you add water, look at what happens here. If you add water, you get some effects, even though they are not granulating colors, and you get some effects. Here it's smoother, even though it's rough paper, but smoother. These are only Perylenes, and they are so beautiful. I wouldn't know which one to choose. So there you go. I wanted to show these today.
Angela, that's a beautiful contrast between the paint on the hot press being smooth and having its texture internally, and having the paint on the cold press where it's more about the edges.
The cold press, you mean this one? The big one? This one
No,
is cold
what you
pressed.
have right here. What you have
you
on the
mean-
table. Yeah, the
You
one to
mean
your right.
This one is rough. This one is rough.
Okay, the rough compared to the other one. Look at the texture.
Exactly. The 2
Yeah.
extremes, rough and hot pressed. So here you don't get the textures because the color doesn't run so much, but I love the effects also. Look, you get hard edges and you get, I mean, if you add water, you don't get so many hard edges, okay? And here, yes, you get a hard edge, which is also very beautiful. And here they mix. Sorry, can you see? Yes, here they
Beautiful.
mix.
Yes.
Whereas on the hot press paper, if you move the paper, you add water and you move it, you get more texture because the paint runs much more. Okay. These is very intense. These 2 are the Peryline scarlet and the Peryline red. Peryline scarlet here and Peryline red. And of course, this is Peryline green, which is another lovely color. Violet and maroon, the 5 Perylenes.
That's exciting. Look at that. Woo! Look at that. It's exciting. Look at the bottom right corner. And then, oh, I love that. Look at the upper left corner.
This
That
one,
really celebrates the behavior of that pigment, doesn't it? That really
Yeah, but
shows you how.
I was so surprised to see this happening. I didn't expect it.
And what do we call that? I know we use the word reticulation. I like to call it roots. Like, what is the vocabulary everyone's using to describe what that's doing there?
I don't know if that's reticulation. I'm not sure. But here,
Anna Marie, you're good at those words.
I found
Yeah.
that we've also often had to go to different industry standards and different industries to find our vocabulary. And not being a chemist, I found often chemistry has the words to describe what we're experiencing because we just don't have vocabulary to describe color as humans. Do you have any thoughts, John, about how we describe what's happening on the paper there?
I would call it probably granulation would be the closest thing. That'd be where Angela has her finger. I'd say that's granulation for sure.
You think it's granulation? But it's the Peryline scarlet that doesn't granulate.
It
But you
doesn't have
can
to.
force.
as Anna Marie was saying before, if you add a lot of water to a pigment, you're going to break it apart. When you break it apart, by definition, that's granulation. It's not necessarily what you always
Okay.
want to do, but it's
Ah.
certainly, it's like French ultramarine. You can have it highly grinded if you oversaturate it, because you're breaking the particles apart and you're making them
Yes.
flow. So absolutely, something doesn't have to granulate. You can also make it granulate.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly. Yeah, that's lovely. Lovely
It is
colors,
very
John.
nice.
Thank you. Thank you so much for
Awesome.
these
Thank you.
colors. Thank you.
So John, you
Yes.
you mentioned about making something granulate, and I know there's products out there that are force the granulation, but there's also suspicion that they might destroy your painting over time. So you're talking about forcing granulation without an additive other than water. You're just forcing the granulation with water alone. Yes?
So you can get granulation by particles that will granulate. They break apart or break off from each other. Lunar black would be a great example. We make that happen with moon glow because there's 3 different pigments that all have different specific gravity. You can also add a surfactant or something similar and cause something to granulate. You're having something which is not naturally granulate and forcing it, which is not always probably the best of ideas to do. When you're getting high granulation from, for example, a French ultramarine, you're actually taking our process of putting a pigment, uh, using pigment to make paint. You're actually reversing the process and you're trying to turn it back into a bunch of flowing pigment. So it's one of the really hard things about being a watercolorist. There's so many variables that you guys use. Unbelievable, whether it's paintbrushes or it's paper or it's watercolor and how much water to use. Those are just, you guys have huge toolboxes.
We do. We do.
So I see that there's Rick and there's Giovanni.
We can
Rick, are
have
you
Rick.
ready?
I am ready. And look,
Okay.
thank you, John, for explaining everything because that helps us all. Having someone who has such a background and answers questions even before we know to ask them. So that's really good. Now, in today's presentation, what I did was I separated the colors, I pulled them out, I have them here for everyone to see. Set that aside. I have the palette already. And then also, like we spoke about earlier, I have all the colors here. So preparation for doing a painting, I don't always do like this, but for what we're doing today, I think it's very important to do. And as we spoke earlier, preparing your colors when you see them on paper is so much different than seeing them in the tube because this way we know what they're doing. Now, what I plan to do today is a little bit different from what I normally do. And I'm going to set that aside. I have examples of some contemporary work, just not objective work. I'm not worried about the colors, but I wanted to show you just design of about 3 different paintings or collages. And whether it's a collage or watercolor or acrylic, we can use the design to create something new with the colors that we choose. And that's a little bit more complicated. So today I'm going to sort of begin with this sort of a design. I'll set it aside. I'll set this over here. It's good to be semi-organized in the studio. So here's the paper that I'm going to work on. This is sample Fabriano paper that I think you get about 5 sheets. And so I'm laying it flat. I may tilt it a little bit. So what I'm going to do is just take a look at the page. I have a pencil. Just going to lay in a few shapes like that's here. That's a circle. And nothing like having a circle that you can just make here. And these are only going to be for reference and making the design that I may want to follow. And with the circular shape, then we have another geometric shape maybe. And as I lay the paint in, I'm going to let it just flow, and I'm just going to randomly pick the colors that we're using today, and having the ability to tilt the paper any way I want, I can let the paint flow. So my objective today, creating a basic, simple design. And if you work on little thumbnail sketches, you could do that on your own time and then go a little bit larger with a piece of artwork. So I'll stop here. I don't want to give too much information here or too much of a guide to go by. And just randomly, I'm just going to pick out some of the colors here. I'll start with this beautiful orange, Pyrrol orange. Just lay it in. Some a little thicker, some a little thin, and just making a few of these shapes, outlining it. Let me see what we'll do with the green. Such a rich green. I love that darkness. And look how it's flowing. Let me add a little bit of water here. It's just intriguing to me how the colors just blend and mix and create other shapes and other designs. And notice, look how that just blends right there together. And I like that contrast. And looking over the palette, this maroon sort of looks pretty good here, too. Just lay that in a little bit. Now, what I plan to do, like I said earlier, I'm just going to experiment with these colors, see how they react to each other. And as I paint, I'm thinking design in a sense of creating a composition. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop here and let's move to the next person, the next brand ambassador, and we'll check on this as it goes, and we'll just see how it ends up today. Thank you.
Rick.
No, Picking up Buffy.
Oh, hello. So I'm just building the wet on wet washes, but there's a lot of fun textures happening. And on that note, on the granulation medium, I've been exploring that. And what I've done is I will add it to my spray bottle, half the granulation medium and then half the water. And I found that you then, can spray it onto colors and it'll make it kind of almost like the sediment will come up and then set back down. So you can really see it in rock studies. I'll show you real quick. Like this one, this is very abstract, but it can really enhance like your lunar colors. And I'm not sure where my sketchbook went. If I find my sketchbook though, I'll show you one more. Oh, here it is. That shows it even better. So I'm interested to study and find out more about the what you were saying, Anna Marie, about if it destroys it. But here it took some of the pigment of the lunar, I don't know if you guys can see it. Can you see it? It kind of dissolved the lunar earth and lunar blue to where you could actually see the sediment pile up. So remember last week when Angela was reactivating by spraying when we were doing the lunar colors? And you could spray it again. Well, when you are painting with your granulating colors and they're almost dry, you can spray that granulation medium on it and get them to just play on the paper. Or as Ashley said, go exploring. I love that. So I'll keep working on this while others share. Thank you.
Now, the granulation medium that you're using, is that the Winsor Newton?
Yes, that's the one. That's the one I tried. Yeah. No, I didn't spray it at full strength. I did about half and half. So I did half granulation medium and half water. And then this is one of those fine spray continuous
I love
misters.
those. I love those.
And so I love it best with the lunars. So if you're playing with the lunar colors and you think I mean, what is more granulating than the lunars, right? And then you add this too. So John, if Daniel Smith could create a granulation medium, that would be awesome. Or maybe you've had one in the past, I don't know. But
Yeah, yeah, pretty much are pretty heavy.
We had a
Yeah.
question on Facebook from Susan Little asking Buffy Kaufman, how does Peryline green compare to Prussian green? Thanks.
Oh, that's awesome question. And hello.
Okay.
So Prussian green and Peryline green had a complete battle for my dot card. And I had the hardest time deciding because I wanted to paint, I paint what I am inspired by. And the Pacific Forests has a very specific looking green. John can probably talk about that as well. So I was looking for a cool green. So here's your Prussian green. And then here is the Peryline green. And the Peryline green, as you can see, is more of a black green. And the Prussian green has a little bit more, it's just a little bit more brighter, I would say. So I had the hardest time deciding. So for me, the reason I chose the Prussian green was because of how it behaved with other colors. I felt like it got along and mixed with more colors than the Peryline green did. And that was just my personal choice. Since I paint so wet on wet and I do a lot of watercolor pouring, the color doesn't go on the paper and just stay in one place. It's mixing with everything else. But I gotta tell you guys, these two and Undersea Green are my three favorites from Daniel Smith. So I mean, if I had one more spot on my palette, it would be Pearline Green. I love that you can get this deep dark value. And I'll show you one more quick thing from another one of our studies we did when we were discussing values. Pearline Green is one of my value builders. So when I'm looking for a dark value color and I don't want to go with traditional black, Pearline Green is perfect for nature. So thank you for that question. Awesome question.
Okay. I will also say really quick that Prussian green is magic. It like separates out and you get some like warm sections and some bluish sections. And so it's a little magical. It's kind of like Imperial Violet in that way.
I can't hear anything. Are you all still on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey guys, but I'm trying today to mixing on green the Pyrrol and the Perylene, but in a filter mode. I use a lot of water and start with the Pyrrol orange with the first row. Or create a little filter. It's a strong color, but I have a many possibility to use in a light mode. And the second is a transparent pearl orange. It's a beautiful color, very, very light in this case. Apply more and more. I love this combination on mixing in filter mode on a wet surface and dry surface, sorry. And the third is Pyrrol Scarlet. I use on mixing on a Cascade Green the first row, Sap Green the second, and Serpentine the third. Now is the Pyrrol Red, more strong. The last is Pyrrol Crimson. And starting now, but I changed the color is on chromium green oxide, terre verde, undersea green. Starting with the Pyrylene Scarlet. Pyrylene Red. Pyrylene Violet, beautiful color. Pyrylene Green, but in this case, green on green, only for strong shadows in green. And the last is Pyrylene Maroon. And the
These
last,
are such good studies for learning how the glazing interacts and to be
yeah,
able to see with your own eye.
and mixing all that now I change it in this case the after I use the on Cascade Green the Pyrylene Scarlet. Pyrylene Red on Sap Green. White. And Pyrylene Violet on Serpentine. And starting the last with Pyrrol Orange on Chromium Green Oxide. Transparent Pyrrol Orange on Terre Verde. And the last, Pyrrol Red on Anderson Green. And obtain a various shade of a light glaze of red. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Giovanni. Besnick, how about you?
Hi, John. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
I enjoyed watching all of the mixes from you guys. Wonderful mixes.
Yeah.
For today, I just prepared the mixes of the colors that we had to do today. So on the bottom, I just played with the pure colors. Here is Pyrylene Violet, Pyrylene Green, Pyrylene Maroon, Pyrylene Scarlet, Pyrylene Red. Then we have Pyrrol Transparent Orange, Pyrrol Orange. Which are the two different oranges but I would definitely, from oranges, I would choose Pyrrol transparent orange to paint something with orange color. Then here it's Pyrrol Scarlet, Pyrrol Red, and Pyrrol Crimson. Here I try to do some mixes between these colors. So in here, I like this one, which is Pyrrol Green and Pyrrol Maroon. I will definitely do a painting with this combination, of course, adding some other colors, but I really love the combination and the granulation that Pyrrol Green gives. It gives a little bit of granulation. As you can see, also this combination of Pyrrol Maroon and Perylene Maroon and Pyrrol Scarlet. I really love these two colors. Here is the combination of Perylene Violet and Perylene Green, which I also love. Beautiful. It's the same with a larger amount of pigment. And I have used here more of violet, more denser pigment of violet. I like these two colors mixing. Here is Perylene Violet and Perylene Scarlet. It can be some combination for my future combos of abstract paintings. Again, Perylene Green with Pyrrol Orange. I like these effects. Here I have Pyrrol Orange with Pyrrol Crimson. Beautiful mix of red and orange. Again, I love the Perylene Green, how it mixes with colors. As I said before, it gives me some effects of granulation. So here is Perylene Green with Perylene Red. Perylene Violet with Pyrrol Orange. So definitely, if we have time for tonight, I suppose no. But definitely I will do a painting in this sheet of paper with this combination of these two colors. So I suppose right now we don't have that much time. I will try to finish something for these last minutes, and you can freely go ahead with another brand ambassador to show the mixes of these beautiful colors. Thank you, John. Thank you, everyone.
Very welcome, Besnick. Thank you.
Besnick, we have a comment on Facebook from Marjorie Belt saying, "These look like little jewels. Beautiful."
Thank you so much. And every day we really find out, for example, I didn't paint that much with these families of Pyrrols and Perylenes, but today I found out that they are amazing combinations. Honestly, I have been using, like mostly in my paintings, other families of Daniel Smith colors, but today, from you guys, from brand ambassadors, and from my testings, I found out very beautiful mixes. So thank you all.
Thank you, Besnick.
Thank you, John.
Rick, can we come back to you for a second? Because I see you at the top corner there.
John, we have a question in
There you
Facebook. Will there be more Perylene colors coming out in sticks?
Yeah, I saw that from, yes, well, there are none right now in sticks, and probably I'll send that over to marketing. Not every color can come out in stick because sometimes there's so much pigment that has to be added. They don't, sometimes I will send it to marketing.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for asking. Thank you, Susan.
Okay, it goes from here to laying the colors, letting them bleed together. Like I did earlier, just laid in a few pencil lines, but I wanted to make sure that I didn't cover the entire space. So putting a mat on it makes a major difference. So if you have a mat with you for different sizes, that will help you figure or make decisions as to whether you need to continue or stop, or do I need to add something here or there. But what I wanted to do today is to stop in time where I can let it rest and dry, and then if I want to go back to it, I can. But just notice how these beautiful colors blend in together and leaving a lot of them pure. And I think if I were to blend them over and over and over, it would make it a little muddy, but making it look fresh, taking these colors with this particular palette today, this is what you can do. Thanks, John.
Very nice, Rick. Thank you so much. And then Ashley, can we come to you next?
I actually don't really have much to share. I can show one
Okay.
thing. Let me switch to my camera here. Okay, it's black. I knew it was going to be black. One second. Is there anybody else?
Yeah, of course.
My
I
camera
am
decided it
here.
was.
I
If
can
you want,
share where the masking fluid has come off on mine if you want.
Sure.
I
So
am
I was
also
able.
painting in the new one. Oh, sorry to disturb.
Oh no, sorry, Bisnick. So yeah, I pulled the masking fluid off and it worked perfectly. So I 2 thumbs up for the Daniel Smith masking fluid, and it has, my gosh, it has the cool little applicator, so you can put it on pretty cool right from the applicator. So yeah, so pulled it off. It came off really easy. It didn't tear the paper at all. And I even cheated and did the no-no, which was I used a little bit of heat on it, which you're not supposed to do, but it still held up. So yeah, really cool. Really cool colors.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how you blend the part that you masked and not make it look crappy like I do.
Okay, so a trick I'll do is I'll just soften it with the colors that are there. Since these are really staining colors, they're probably not going to come up very much, but I should still be able to get enough. See how it just sets it back? So you can pick areas where you want the white to be, and then you can soften other areas, and it'll just create a little bit of depth too, because the things you leave white will come forward, and the things that you just soften will fall back. So see how and it also will soften the hard edges that masking fluid sometimes leaves. So I like to do a half and half of them softened and then half of just those white bits to come up. But you can also apply color over it. So if I wanted to do a little bit of balancing, say I wanted that Pyrrol orange because it's such a stunner, I could add that in there also and put it over the white bits, and those lighter areas will still show through. See how much that changed it?
Yes, beautiful.
Isn't that nice? Actually, it looks better. Thank you for your question. You helped my painting.
Anytime.
Teamwork. Thank you for letting me share, guys. This was fun.
Very beautiful. Thank you, Buffy.
Thank you, guys.
It's beautiful.
I would like to share also Caroline work if you can. So
Oh, very nice.
Sure.
I just need Caroline. She did some great work here, and these
Always
are
does great work.
yes. Do you see her works here?
It's hard to see.
They're all little. Can you zoom them up?
Then I try. Let's see if I can do this and open with the preview. Do you see the preview?
No.
Not
Do you
for the
see there?
moment.
Okay.
You have to.
I think
you
you're
have to
only
change.
sharing one window and you need to share your full screen.
Okay. I'll start again. Sorry for that. And let me see how I can fix it.
Open the one you want to show us
17 hours.
and share it. And
Yeah.
that's the way you can do it.
I think so. Let me think. Okay, maybe this. Okay. Do you see?
Oh, there we go. Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Now, yes.
Yes.
Ellen,
I was
me?
looking through my folio for where I used red because it's not a color that I commonly use. But when I lean for it, I'm leaning for it to be a really pop color, a really bright contrast to the soft hues of the blues and greens, which is my more common colors. So these were just a selection that I found in my folio that matched our colour selections today, and I thought I would highlight them to share so you can see some finished artwork using these beautiful colours.
Beautiful.
You can see a few of them. I've done some dot card studies, and obviously with the sticks, which is always a favourite to go to, and looking at combinations of colours together and how the reds become the pop colour in a picture.
Very good. I remember that.
Bit of fun with circus. And I love abstract, so I always admire Rick Anderson's work when I see him go for it, because I thoroughly enjoy that process of play.
Thank you.
This was a study that was actually looking at glass and looking also at some luminescence. If you see the real painting, it's got a dazzle of delicate luminescence over the glass surfaces as well. And an interesting study I did as a reaction to an emotional experience that I had. So the red was a very loud and ferocious colour in this painting.
Okay, that's all.
Wow.
Thank you, Caroline.
Yep,
Thank you for
very much.
sharing.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for sharing, everybody. It was such bright work. It's beautiful.
Yes.
I'm looking at the
It's
gray
the colours that are bright.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
The colors are doing the effect, John.
Yeah,
Thank you
it's
for
the
making
colors.
amazing colors.
Yes, thank you for the colors, John. They are
Thank you
amazing.
for your beautiful artwork and for sharing. I love the comments that are made on both sides, answering
Yes.
questions for everybody. So thank you also very, very much, and hope you could come tomorrow and watch our artist tomorrow. So thank you, everybody.
Yes,
Thanks for joining.
definitely.
Thank
Thank
John.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Bye,
Thank you, John.
everybody.
Thank you,
Thanks for
John.
inviting me. Have a good day.
Bye.
Go